We got one more, man. We got one more to get.
Okay.
Okay, you clear?
Our first stop, the East Coast, to unload pallets of mail and Christmas presents for Marines overseas. Barksdale's KC-10s are some of the workhorses of the Air Force. They're making overseas flights daily in support of Operation Desert Shield. 8 hours later, sunrise is breaking as we get closer to our first overseas destination. It's known only as the Tanker Task Force location. The government of this European country let us come here, but they won't let us tell you where we are. They're afraid that by publicly cooperating with the United States, they may become a target for terrorism. The base has become an American home away from home. There are over 700 Americans here now. More than half of those are from Barksdale. Over the past 100 days, Colonel Al Perez and his people have turned this sleepy base into a bustling hub of air traffic. Dozens of times a week, KC-10s and 135s take off for Persian Gulf countries, carrying mail and supplies. How important is your mission here?
We are most probably in a pivotal point between the U.S. and the forward operating area. We handle supplies and equipment for almost 200 air refueling assets, aircraft.
Don't let bring that fool ya. Don't let that fool ya. Don't let change your mind.
Our second destination is deep in country in eastern Saudi Arabia. This marine tent city, nearly indistinguishable from the desert around it, is home to more than 5,000 Marines. These troops are cut off from the outside world. They sleep, work, and wait for the KC-10s. The troops like to see the KC-10s coming. They bring things like supplies, equipment, mail, and goodie boxes. All sorts of stuff in here. From this location in eastern Saudi Arabia, our plane takes off again, this time to refuel at a base some 60 miles away. It's there we see more evidence of the massive buildup. The deployment of troops continues as thousands more come in country every day. These Army troops arrive via TWA 747. The military had borrowed the plane to get the 400-plus soldiers from Germany to Saudi. It's also here that I run into Sergeant Jim Como, a Louisianian a long way from home who had a message for his family.
That I love them, yeah. That I'm a soldier and that's why I'm over here.
Next stop, our Tanker Task Force location, somewhere near the Mediterranean. This is a typical day for the flight crews from Barksdale, intense, nearly non-stop flying. And Tuesday, another typical day. Christmas there isn't going to be the same as Christmas here. That story tomorrow. I'm Liz Swain reporting.
Basically, the KC-10s have been flying almost non-stop since this thing started, so we're staying busy.
It's easy to think of Operation Desert Shield as mainly an Army operation. A lot of the pictures you see are tanks and troops in the desert. But most of those 300,000-plus troops and many of the supplies got there courtesy the Air Force. In order to move all those troops and supplies, the Air Force has become a modern-day Pony Express. Pilots and crews from Barksdale are flying nearly round the clock. Crew members grab food and sleep when and where they can. An uncomfortable sleep is better than no sleep at all. And even at 30,000 feet, inquiring minds want to know. Our KC-10 took off late at night, landing deep inside Saudi Arabia before dawn. The cargo planes are welcome guests in country.
Bring it down. Bring it down.
Our plane brought 75,000 pounds of vehicle parts, medicine, and mail. This is the only contact with the outside world some of these troops have had in months. If fighting does break out, this KC-10 and others like it will become flying gas stations used to refuel jet fighters, attack planes, even other tankers.
To them, we're now a high-value asset. The fighters have also started to realize that without the tankers, they can't do a lot of their forward support missions. So they're now dedicating part of their assets to protecting the tanker.
Back on the ground at the base in the Med, members of the 2nd Bomb Wing are working to keep the tankers airworthy, the schedules in line, and find beds for the crews flying in and out. Just 4 months ago, there were fewer than 70 people at this base. Now there are 700, most of them from Barksdale. So you guys have come in sort of like a red, white, and blue tornado.
Exactly. This was a Sleepy Hollow, and we woke it up.
Sergeant Terry Barker has been away from his wife and 2-year-old son for more than 115 days now, but says the deployment has been a learning experience.
I'm seeing a lot of things that I would probably never have seen unless, this would have happened. And I'm learning a lot of different jobs, how things actually happen.
So, for the foreseeable future, Barker and the other troops will remain, and the Bayou Babe and Swamp Rat will continue to log a lot of hours. This is called the Tanker Task Force location. It's a base somewhere near the Mediterranean. The troops from the Arklatex have given it a new name, Barksdale East. There's not a lot to do here: work, sleep, eat, and exercise. Most prefer to do plenty of the former to keep their minds off home.
I work here 6 out of 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, and it makes time go by real fast.
Sergeant Terry Barker has called the base home for more than 115 days now. This is the first time he's had to spend an extended amount of time away from his wife and son. Colonel Al Perez sympathizes with his troops, but says it can be done.
I was living proof that you can get through it, and people do adjust.
Perez's answer to the homesickness blues: good old-fashioned work. He says that's what kept him going 18 years ago, when during the Vietnam War, he was separated from his family for nearly a year.
We do this, keep in shape, burn off tension since we work long hours. This is what we do for fun around here. Bye.
Every Saturday morning, those who want to take part in the Commander's Run. After all the work, the exercise is a good diversion. The conditions here certainly aren't as bad as in Saudi Arabia, and the folks from Barksdale know that. You won't hear any complaints that most have to sleep 4 to a small room, or there's little to do but work. That's because they know they could be here. Here in the Saudi desert, you can depend on 2 things: the wind and the sand.
For all the new joinees, go over and supply at 08 this morning and draw your camis.
And remember that optional Commander's Run back at the Tanker Task Force location? This Marine Run is not optional.
Don't let green grass fool ya. Don't let that fool ya. Don't let it change your mind.
The Marines in this tent city are here for the duration as well. Their day begins long before dawn, and most work 7 days a week just to have something to do. The welcome break comes when the mail arrives. This KC-10 from Barksdale is loaded with it.